This story is titled, I accidentally exposed my boss's affair at the office party. Now he's blackmailing me, and his wife wants me to be her spy. Let me preface this by saying, I did not mean to blow up my boss's life like a soap opera cliffhanger, but here we are. If this feels like the first 10 minutes of a Netflix miniseries, that's because it freaking is. And I'm the reluctant lead. So, I 29 am, regular office guy, marketing department, socially anxious enough that team-building mixers make me sweat through my undershirt by appetizer time. My boss, Dean, 44M, is the walking embodiment of a Bluetooth earpiece, slick, loud, and never not talking about leveraging synergy. Married to Claudia, 42F, who looks like a museum curator but glares like a mob boss in heels. She's beautiful in that terrifying way where you feel like she could unearth your deepest secret from a glance. That becomes important later. Then there's the office friend group. I say friend the way people say moist. Uncomfortably. You've got Tara, 31F, who's always volunteering to organize stuff, but somehow ends up delegating all of it. Greg, 33M, who thinks he's Jim from The Office, but is more like the guy who explains memes mid-scroll. And our intern Liam, 22M, who's either a genius or clinically dead inside, still unsure. Anyway, the drama starts at our annual holiday party. Open bar. Dim lighting. HR outnumbered and outgunned. This is where corporate sins go to be baptized in bad decisions and whiskey. I'm 3 glasses of cheap Merlot deep, trying to mentally detach from my own body like a Victorian ghost when I go outside to get some air. I was sweating through my ugly sweater and needed a break from Greg trying to reenact the elf dance scene. That's when I saw it. Dean, locking lips with someone very not Claudia. And not just that we got caught under the mistletoe moment, it was full on my wife's out of town and I have no soul passion. Guess who the mystery woman was? Tara, the planner. Bigots for morale queen. Mrs. Spreadsheet herself. And now Mrs. Sidepiece, apparently. I panicked. Not because I care about Dean's moral collapse, but because I gasped. Loud. Like a dramatic Victorian heroine who just saw her fiancé kiss the governess. Dean whips around, sees me, and I do the absolute worst thing imaginable. I waved. Like a moron. Like I was hailing a taxi in hell. I didn't even mean to, it was reflex. That's how socially broken I am. I saw something scandalous and greeted it. Dean storms over later while I'm eating a mini quiche, looking like the human version of a cease and desist letter. You didn't see anything, he says through clenched teeth. I laugh. Nervous, confused, desperate. Sure. I'll just erase it from my brain, Eternal Sunshine style. Bad move. He leans in close. You like working here, right? And that's when it clicked. He wasn't just warning me. He was threatening me. What I didn't expect. The next morning, Claudia shows up at my apartment. Not my office. My apartment. In heels. Holding a cappuccino. With a smile that chilled my bones. She hands me the coffee and says, you and I are going to be friends. Turns out Claudia knew something was off. She'd been suspecting an affair for months. My little wine-fueled gasp at the party? That was the confirmation she needed. And now she wants me to spy for her. So I've got 2 people playing tug-of-war with my nervous system. My boss, who's dangling my job over my head, and his wife, who's recruiting me like I'm about to go full undercover. And the worst part? I said yes to both. God help me. So now I've got the devil on one shoulder threatening my paycheck and the devil's slightly classier, better-dressed wife on the other offering artisanal coffee and a front-row seat to corporate implosion. This would be the perfect time to disappear into the woods and become a hermit with a raccoon sidekick. Instead, I said, sure, Claudia. I'll help. Why? Because I have the survival instincts of a soggy napkin and also because I hate Dean. Hate him more now that he called me into his office Monday morning and closed the door like we were about to have a mafia sit-down. Dean. So, about the other night. Me, sipping the coffee Claudia gave me 2 hours earlier and trying not to visibly shake. Yep. Hell of a party. Love the shrimp skewers. Dean, not amused. You like your job? There it was again. That say something wrong and I'll make your career disappear tone. He tells me, in the fakest friendly voice imaginable, that discretion is key in leadership. That sometimes what people think they see isn't always the full picture. That loyalty goes a long way in this company. I'm nodding like a bobblehead at a demolition derby, pretending not to notice how my spine has turned into jello. I leave that meeting and go straight to the 14th floor janitor's closet to dry heave into a mop bucket. Later that day, Claudia texts me. Not calls. Not emails. Texts. How did you get my number? Unknown. Possibly dark magic. Claudia. Follow him after work. Don't get caught. Lady, I can barely order tacos without stuttering. You want me to do spycraft now? But I do it. Because 1, Claudia is terrifying and 2, I have a death wish apparently. Dean leaves around 6. I give it 10 minutes, then slide into my Civic and follow him like I'm in a poorly funded reboot of The Bourne Identity. My hands are sweating so hard my steering wheel turns into a slip and slide. I trail him across town, fully convinced I'm about to get pulled over and have to explain I'm not stalking. I'm just being professionally extorted by my boss's wife. He pulls into this boutique hotel. Real swanky. Real discreet. I park a block away and consider my options. Go in? Wait? Text Claudia? Change my name and move to Montana? While I'm spiraling, a second car pulls up. And out steps Tara. Again. She's wearing a trench coat like it's her side hustle to sell state secrets, and she scurries inside like she's trying not to be seen. Okay. That's enough sleaze for one night. I snap a photo blurry as hell, nerves. Text Claudia. Me, boutique hotel. 7:43 p.m. Tara just went in. She responds immediately. Claudia. Good. Let's see how deep this hole goes. Ma'am. I am but a marketing associate with IBS and zero confrontation skills. I am not built for this. But that's not the worst part. The next morning, Dean corners me again in the parking garage. Like some noir villain who's about to shove me in a trunk. Dean, you texted someone last night. My blood turns into Mountain Dew ice. What? Dean, don't play dumb. He pulls out his phone and shows me a security cam still. It's me, outside the hotel. Hands up. Phone out. Shit. Dean steps in closer. From now on, you report to me. Everything. Including what she says to you. You're going to be my little insurance policy. So now I'm officially screwed. I'm spying on Dean for Claudia. I'm spying on Claudia for Dean. And I'm one panic attack away from chewing through drywall like a cornered rat. I think I might be the villain. Or the patsy. Or both. Either way, I'm in too deep to crawl out clean. You ever find yourself in a situation so chaotic you start narrating your life like you're on a true crime podcast? Because that's where I'm at now. So I'm spying for Claudia, who thinks I'm her personal secret weapon. And I'm also spying for Dean, who thinks I'm his panic room in khakis. But the joke? The real punchline? I'm just a marketing guy who once got highs from arguing with a cashier about expired coupons. So yeah, I'm thriving. Let's rewind to Tuesday morning. I'm eating a sad granola bar in my car, considering whether I could convincingly fake a coma. That's when Claudia texts. You're doing well. Let's get lunch. I'll pick the place. Okay, red flag number 412. No one picks the place with a period unless they're about to waterboard you with truffle fries. We meet at this bougie lunch spot where the waiters whisper and the menu has no prices. She's in a power suit like she just closed a merger and/or buried a body. Dean's playing defense, she says while swirling her rose like a villainess from Scandal. Which means you're in the right position. I need access to his work laptop. Ma'am, do I look like Ethan Hunt to you? I want to say. Instead, I take a gulp of cucumber water and try not to choke on my own fear. She slides over a flash drive. Plug this in and walk away. My heart? Doing acrobatics. My stomach? Considering early retirement. I leave lunch with the flash drive burning a hole in my coat pocket like it's radioactive. And guess who's waiting in my cube when I get back? Dean. In my chair. Eating my snack stash. Like a predator on a beanbag. He grins, this oily, smug smile, and says, You're going to tell me everything Claudia's planning. Or you're out. So now I've got a flash drive from his wife, and his Cheeto-stained fingers pointing at my throat. But here's where the story pivots. I finally snap. I'm not your damn therapist, Dean. Or your marriage counselor. Or your tech support. And if either of you had a shred of decency, I wouldn't be in this mess. Dean blinks. I've never raised my voice in 3 years at this job, but there it is, full volume. And in that moment, something clicks in his expression. Not anger. Not shock. Fear. He leans in and lowers his voice. You think Claudia wants the truth? She doesn't. She wants proof I'm unfaithful so she can take me down in court. The affair? That's not the scandal. It's what she's been doing with the company books. Wait. Hold the hell on. Apparently, Claudia, yes, wifezilla herself, is embezzling. Has been for years. Using shadow vendors. Ghost invoices. Fake consultant fees. Dean knows, but he's got no hard proof. Just a ledger full of red flags. That's why he's using me. Because if I plug in Claudia's flash drive, I might not be spying on Dean. I might be delivering her virus into the company system. I'm not a pawn. I'm the trap trigger. Dean says, if you really want to survive this, play along. But trust me, Claudia isn't your friend. So now I've got a decision to make. Do I plug in the drive and risk tanking the whole company? Or do I turn both of them in? Or do I fake my own death and move to rural Canada with a new identity and a very well-behaved cat? I still have the drive. And my palms haven't stopped sweating in 36 hours. If you ever find yourself staring at a company-issued laptop with a flash drive in one hand and the creeping suspicion that both your boss and his wife are criminals, congratulations, you're me. Welcome to hell. We have catered lunches on Fridays and a mandatory Slack channel called #WinningWednesdays. So I'm standing at my desk, flash drive in hand, trying not to hyperventilate into my reusable coffee mug, when Liam, the intern who never talks, walks by and says, "Don't plug that in." I freeze. What? He points at the flash drive like it's a live grenade. It's a keylogger. Or worse. You plug that in, it could nuke the server or upload a remote access Trojan. I stare at him like he just recited Latin backwards. How do you know that? Liam shrugs. Built a botnet when I was 16. Don't worry about it. Well, okay, Neo. Thanks for casually dropping that you're the love child of Edward Snowden and a Red Bull-fueled raccoon. So now I'm spiraling harder. I've got blackmail, espionage, marriage warfare, potential fraud, and my only ally is an intern who wears hoodies that smell like instant noodles and rage. Still, Liam saved me from becoming the unknowing hacker mule in Claudia's warpath. He even offers to take a look at the drive using his personal setup. I don't ask questions. I just hand it over like it's a cursed amulet. 3 hours later, he pings me on Teams with, "You're gonna want to see this." We meet in the supply closet because my life is now a low-budget spy movie with zero lighting and too much toner. Turns out the flash drive contains an executable that, once run, starts copying everything on the system: emails, files, client data, and sends it to a private server registered to a shell company in the Caymans. The cherry on top? The drive is programmed to auto-delete its own traces within 24 hours. So yeah, Claudia didn't want evidence on Dean. She wanted to plant it. She's setting him up to look like he's embezzling her own husband, so she can clean house in the divorce and walk away with half the company. I feel sick. But Liam? Liam looks delighted. This is so messed up. I love it. Now I have proof. Of everything. The affair. The drive. The digital sleight of hand. But what do I do with it? Here's where the absolute kicker drops. That evening, I get a text. From Claudia's personal number. Only, it's not Claudia. This is Amber. Claudia's assistant. We need to talk. Tonight. Amber. The silent type. Always in the background. High bun, neutral tones, clipboard energy. She shows up at my apartment like she's walking into a deposition. I know everything, she says. Claudia's been using me as her go-between for years. I didn't realize how deep it went until she asked me to lie on a financial audit last quarter. My brain's doing cartwheels at this point. She's planning to pin everything on Dean, Amber says. But here's the problem. She doesn't know you have the flash drive. She thinks I gave it to him directly. That's when it hits me. I'm not just the middleman anymore. I'm the wild card. The person who's been playing both sides without anyone fully knowing what I have. Amber looks me dead in the eyes and says, if you want to survive this, you need to choose. Dean's going down. Claudia's going down. The question is, who are you taking with them? At this point, I'm one bad decision away from starring in my own Netflix limited series, Marketing in Turn, The Collapse. All I wanted was a steady paycheck and maybe a donut on Fridays. Now I'm involved in what can only be described as a suburban Cold War between two sociopaths in designer clothes. Quick recap. Dean's cheating. Claudia's embezzling. I'm caught in the middle with a flash drive full of felony. And now Claudia's assistant, Amber, just told me she knows everything, and she's picking sides. I should have gone into plumbing. Or could. So there I am, in my kitchen, still in my work pants but no shirt because that's how I process stress, apparently half naked and fully panicking. Amber's sitting across from me, drinking tea like she didn't just casually reveal she's a corporate whistleblower. You need a plan, she says. And a failsafe. Right. Failsafe. Because that's a word normal people use when their job isn't nuclear launch code courier. She pulls out a burner phone from her purse. A literal, actual burner. Like I'm in a Jason Bourne fanfiction. This number goes directly to me. No one else. If things go south, you call. But for now, we start with this. And she slides over a manila envelope. Inside, a list of fake vendors Claudia has been funneling money through, complete with invoice numbers, payment dates, and, wait for it, a fake consulting firm registered to her sister in Florida. Dean was right. Claudia is not just cold-blooded. She's got a criminal side hustle built on QuickBooks and quiet manipulation. But then Amber says something that makes my stomach flip. She knows someone's been leaking, and she's starting to think it's you. I don't even get to respond, because the next morning, Dean calls a company-wide urgent operations review meeting at 8 a.m. He's standing in front of us like some war general in loafers, all puffed chest and vague threats. Says someone's been accessing sensitive financial data. Says if anyone has seen anything unusual, they should come forward now to avoid escalation. Meanwhile, Claudia is in the back of the room, arms folded, face unreadable, sipping her $7 oat milk latte like she already knows how this ends. And the worst part? Everyone's looking at me, because I've always been the quiet one that does his job and minds his business guy. And now I've been pulled into enough secret meetings and side eyes to make me look like the office rat. I make it through the day by sheer force of caffeine and adrenaline, then head home. At 10:27 p.m., I get a text from a blocked number. Meet me in the west parking lot. Midnight. Come alone. Of course I go. Because again, I have no self-preservation instincts, and this whole thing feels like I'm living inside a fever dream sponsored by Xanax and LinkedIn. I show up early. Park under the one flickering light like an idiot in a horror movie. I'm rehearsing my "please don't kill me" speech when a figure steps out from behind a dumpster. It's Liam. Hoodie, backpack, calm as ever. He walks over, opens his laptop, and says, "I broke into the company's internal audit logs." I swear I felt my soul leave my body. He pulls up a screen filled with code and spreadsheets. Look, Claudia's been doctoring quarterly reports. I trace the changes back to her IP. This is hard proof. I can barely breathe. Why are you doing this? He shrugs. I like chaos. But then he gives me a look. A serious one. The kind you don't expect from a guy who owns anime keychains and eats lunch in the server room. You're not safe anymore, Liam says. She's closing in. You need to go on the offensive before she makes you the fall guy. That's when I knew. No more hiding. No more playing both sides. No more letting two overpaid sociopaths toss me around like a corporate volleyball. Tomorrow, I go scorched earth. I've got the emails, the flash drive, the assistant's testimony, and now, thanks to Liam, the audit trail. They wanted a pawn. I'm about to be the motherfucking queen. It's amazing how quiet an office gets when HR, legal, and an unannounced government official show up with clipboards and grim expressions. That's not just awkward silence quiet. That's someone's getting fired in 4K quiet. You could have heard Greg's soul leave his body when the IRS lady walked in wearing all black like the angel of bankruptcy. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's rewind to that morning. I wake up after 2 hours of sleep in an anxiety dream where Dean's face morphs into a printer error message. My hands are shaking, my tie is crooked, and I'm pretty sure my deodorant gave up somewhere around 7:15 a.m. Doesn't matter. Today's the day. The plan was simple-ish. Drop an anonymous tip to corporate's legal department. Attach digital evidence, the flash drive contents, the audit trail from Liam, Amber's signed testimony, bless her. CCHR. A CC Dean. CC Claudia. Sit back. Wait for hell to swallow the building whole. I hit send at exactly 9:03 a.m. At 9:07, the internal network slowed to a crawl. At 9:12, someone from legal was already in the hallway with a printout and murder in her eyes. By 9:20, I heard Claudia's office door slam hard enough to make a motivational poster fall off the wall. And by 9:45, Dean threw up in the break room trash can. No, really. He puked. Right between the vending machine and the coffee pot. I watched it happen from behind my stapler like a wildlife documentary. Then came the knock on my cube wall. Soft. Measured. I turn. HR lady. Legal lady. IRS lady. This is not a combo you want to see unless you're the one holding all the cards. Can we speak with you privately? HR says. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled. Absolutely. We go into one of those sterile conference rooms that smells like old toner and quiet panic. They ask if I know why I'm here. I say it depends. Is it about the affair, the fraud, or the drive? Dead silence. Then IRS lady speaks. First words I've heard from her. We'd like you to walk us through everything. From the beginning. And I do. The party. The kiss. The threat. The flash drive. The scheme. The embezzlement. The shady vendors. The parking lot. The intern who moonlights as a cyber vigilante. Everything. When I'm done, IRS lady just nods and says, that confirms most of what we suspected. Thank you for cooperating. Wait, what? Most? Turns out the IRS had already been sniffing around the company because of discrepancies in Claudia's tax filings. My little digital care package just accelerated the whole damn investigation. Meanwhile, upstairs, Dean and Claudia are both being invited into separate rooms. Apparently Claudia tried to play it cool until they showed her the vendor list registered to her sister in Florida. Then she went full banshee. Dean? Dean started crying. Like, full-on my future is dissolving tears. I almost felt bad, until I remembered the time he told me I'd be dispensable if I didn't learn to play ball. Cry harder. But back in the conference room, HR hands me a signed statement, immunity from termination and a raise. Apparently whistleblower protection is a real thing. Who knew? And just when I think it's over, IRS lady says, one more thing. I brace myself. There's someone who asked to speak with you. In private, I get walked to another room. No windows. Single chair. One coffee cup on the table. And in walks Claudia. No blazer. No heels. Just her, in all black, looking like the CEO of Vengeance. She sits, crosses her legs, stares at me. You're smarter than I thought. Thanks, I say, voice cracking slightly. You're scarier than I thought. She actually smiles. You just made a very powerful enemy. I lean back and smile right back. Good thing I don't work for you anymore. She laughs. I swear. Not a real laugh, more like the kind that says I'm going to haunt your dreams, but I respect your hustle. Then she leans in close. Enjoy your raise. For now. And walks out. I thought the game was over. I hit send. I watched the empire crumble. I was ready to cash in my whistleblower raise, eat cake in the break room, and maybe finally stop sweating through my undershirts every time someone said, "Can we talk?" But no. Because evil doesn't die that easily. It reinvents. It rebrands. It sends a man in a suit with a leather folder and a very polite smile to hand-deliver a letter to my apartment 3 days after the office fallout. The return address? Claudia. Yes. Her. The woman who called me a useful pawn to my face after I blew up her marriage and exposed her embezzlement scheme. The same Claudia who now has multiple audits crawling up her financial spine like digital termites. The letter was short, clean, printed on thick cream cardstock like she was inviting me to a satanic wedding. Congratulations on your promotion. Let's not pretend either of us is surprised. I have a new business venture, and I want you to be part of it. Let me know if you're ready to work with people who actually understand the game. Sincerely, Claudia Rothmore. P.S. Loyalty is only impressive when it isn't wasted. I read it 3 times while my pasta boiled over and filled the kitchen with the smell of burnt regret. This woman, this absolute villain in heels, was offering me a job. After I exposed her. After I destroyed her carefully curated facade. She wanted me on her team. And the worst part? Some tiny, dead inside part of me was tempted. Because the corporate world? It's not about doing the right thing. It's about playing the angles. And Claudia? She plays them like a damn cello. The next morning, I came into the office to a war zone in slow motion. Dean had stepped down, which is HR speak for, we shoved him out the nearest window before the board got wind of everything. His office was empty except for a sad succulent and a box of stress balls. Claudia? Officially taking a break from the company to focus on personal matters. Translation, lawyered up and laying low. The board announced a restructuring. New leadership. New oversight. And guess who's been asked to contribute strategy insight during the transition? Yours truly. Because in a world full of sycophants and yes men, suddenly the one guy who dared to go rogue is being seen as a fresh voice. I spent most of that week dodging side eyes, drinking free lattes, and trying to pretend I wasn't mentally preparing for another ambush. Then came the second letter. This one? From Claudia's lawyer. Not threatening. Not hostile. An NDA. And a draft contract. Consulting position. Stupidly high pay. Fully remote. One condition, 0 contact with any regulatory agency moving forward. She wanted to buy me out. Not silence. Control. Claudia knows she can't destroy me right now, not with everything under investigation. So she's doing what she's always done. Acquire the threat. And I gotta be real with you. I almost signed it. Not because I want to work for her, but because the idea of being financially bulletproof in this economy? Real tempting. But Liam, the hoodie-wearing goblin prince of IT, cornered me in the stairwell with a cold energy drink and a warning. You signed that, he said. You're in her web for life. People like Claudia don't pay you to help. They pay you to stop asking questions. And that's when I knew what I had to do. The next day, I made a copy of the NDA, scribbled across it in red Sharpie. Respectfully, go fuck yourself. I mailed it back. No return address. Just vibes and vengeance. But it's not over. Because late last night, I got a text from Amber, the assistant turned ally who's been watching all of this from the shadows. She's not done. She's setting up offshore accounts. She's using her sister's name again. We need to go bigger. You in? And you know what? I am. Because Claudia thinks this was a game of chess. But I'm about to flip the whole fucking board. Let me just say this. There is no rush quite like watching someone who thought they owned the board realize they're the one getting played. Especially when they've been casually threatening your job, sanity, and maybe your life for weeks. So, final boss mode. Claudia Rothmore. You remember Amber, Claudia's assistant turned ally turned Loki corporate vigilante? Her latest tip was that Claudia's already setting up new shell companies overseas, using her sister's name again. Same playbook, different sandbox. This woman does white-collar crime like it's Pilates. Amber and I knew reporting this to internal compliance wouldn't be enough. Claudia's got too many fake smiles and soft bribes in her back pocket. So we needed to go nuclear. Enter operation. Roast the queen. Liam, our hoodie-clad IT gremlin, set up the tech. Amber got the timing. I brought the rage. We waited until the quarterly shareholders webcast. Claudia wasn't supposed to be involved anymore. But surprise, she phoned in to offer insights like she was the ghost of executive past. The board was eating it up. Polite laughter. Tight smiles. Dean's empty chair just sitting there like a warning. Amber gave the signal. I hit play, and every screen in the conference room flickered. Claudia's voice came through the speakers loud and crisp, recorded weeks ago during one of her many private phone calls Amber had quietly logged while organizing her schedule. Dean was never the problem. He's the fall guy. The money's already moved. Let them audit whatever's left. My name won't be on a single file. The trick is to let them catch you somewhere small so they stop looking for the big stuff. Then, and that little employee of mine, the one playing both sides, I'd hire him in a heartbeat. He's ruthless when he needs to be, which means he'll fold like a napkin when it matters. I turned to the board. I didn't fold, I said. I documented everything. Boom. Legal froze. HR dropped her pen. One board member literally whispered, Jesus Christ. I walked them through the trail, the fake vendors, the Caymans, the backdoor invoices. Amber had already compiled a physical binder with highlights and timestamps. She named it the Rothmore Files, like she was pitching it to HBO. They cut the broadcast. Someone escorted Claudia's voice off the call. Within the hour, federal investigators were back in the building. But here's the best part, the chef's kiss of poetic justice. While all this was going down, I received an email from Claudia's sister. Her actual sister. She'd gotten wind of Claudia using her name again for offshoring. And guess who's really pissed? Turns out, Claudia used her identity to open accounts without permission years ago and burned her own sister's credit into the ground. So now the sister was working with investigators, funneling U.S. bank statements and IP logs from the overseas transactions. Claudia got caught with her fingerprints on everything. And me? The little employee who folds like a napkin? I got a call from a law firm the next day. They wanted to offer me a job. 6 figures. Full benefits. Ethics and compliance division. Liam's now consulting for a cybersecurity firm. They literally poached him mid-chaos. Amber? Amber's been promoted to chief of staff at the restructured company. No longer someone's assistant. Now she runs things. As for Claudia, she's under investigation for financial fraud, identity theft, and wire fraud. Her assets are frozen. Her reputation? Absolute toast. Last I heard, she fled to her lake house for clarity, which I think is code for buying time before indictment. Dean? Still pathetic. Tried to make amends with a voicemail that included the words mutual respect. I didn't listen past the first 5 seconds. And me? I sleep just fine now. My inbox is boring. No more burner phones. No more flash drives that might explode. Just spreadsheets. Coffee. The sound of peace. Do I still see Claudia in my dreams sometimes? Sure. Do I imagine her screaming as the feds carry out boxes of her documents? Every damn night. And it's glorious. Ida? Hell no. I wasn't the villain. I wasn't the pawn. I was the trap. And they walked right into it.